Hi everyone, today we are going to explain the types of listening questions found in the Toefl Ibt test. The first one is understand the gist. In order to understand the gist, you will get the main idea or overall topic of the whole passage. This means that you will get the overall purpose that the passage serves. We all know that there are only two types of audio files that are it could be a conversation or a lecture. So the most basic strategy to get the gist is that you have to pay attention at the beginning of the audio, because the speakers are always introducing what they will talk about. Okay, so as you take notes and the speaker continues speaking, you will adjust your initial idea based upon what you hear through the remainder of the passage. Okay, so based on your first idea, you will get the gist or the main topic of the audio. Okay, so we have some examples. You will get these questions when you are asked why. For example, why does the student go to see the advisor? What is the topic of the lecture? Okay, so you are going to be asked about the main idea of the passage. For example, you will hear something like this.
According to the professor, why was the Giotto spacecraft mission significant?
Okay, the second type of question is understand the details. This means that specific pieces of information that are stated in the passage as major details. So you may not be confused with all the details that are mentioned in the passage. You may hear only which are important on the topic discussed. So the first strategy is to listen for major details that are developed from the overall idea. This means that as you listen, you may take notes about the most important details that are developed from the main idea. Also, correct answer choices may have accurate information, but restated. So the correct answers may have the information stated in other words, but they always will tell the same purpose or the same information that was told on the listening. The rest of answer choices may have inaccurate information. So for example, in this type of questions you may have something like, what reason does the student give for not attending classes? Or why does the advisor give the suggestion? For example, you will hear something like this.
Number 1. What reasons does the student give for not attending the internship fair?
Okay, the third type of question is to understand the function. This type of question tests the function of the speaker's words, stance, or attitude toward a particular subject. You have to determine that a speaker said something to apologize, explain, clarify a point, change a topic, or give a suggestion. In this type of questions, you may understand the feeling or the intention why the speaker used a specific intonation or voice usage. The first strategy is to pay attention to the words and sentences surrounding the replayed part. Okay, so you will be asked to hear again to a particular section that the speaker said using a particular tone of voice. With those sounds you will identify the meaning or why or what he or she is intending to say or express. So the tone of voice may indicate the feeling of what was told. Here you have some examples. What does the professor mean when he says this? And you have the replay part. Second example says, what does the librarian mean when he says this? Okay, so you will hear again, and then you will get with those tone of voices, with those tones of voice, you may get an idea of what is told. For example, this.
Number 9. Listen again to part of the passage, then answer the question.
Okay, that's probably enough about muscle tone, but let me just recap what we said about brainwaves before we go on to discuss them in another context.
Why does the professor say this?
But let me just recap what we said about brainwaves before we go on to discuss them in another context.
The next type of question that we have in Toefl Ibt test is understand the speaker's stance. In this case, listeners should be careful with the information that can show us the stance or the speaker's attitude. Also, we have to be focused on opinions, feelings, or degrees of certainty that a speaker could have, or dislikes, likes, or concern. One of the strategies that we can develop in order to answer in a good way this kind of question is listen for tone of voice and word choice. We have to pay attention carefully to the tone of voice because it will show us the mood what the speaker is talking about in that moment. Another strategy is to form an idea about how the speaker feels based on the tone of voice, word choice, and context that we can hear from the listening. Okay, some examples that we have is, for example, the speaker always start with, why does the professor say this? Or what is the advisor's attitude? Okay, this is one example from the Toefl Ibt test.
Why does the professor begin the lecture by discussing the surface of the ocean?
Okay, so after that, we have to choose one of the correct answers based on the notes that we take from the listening part. Okay, our next type of questions is understand the organization. In this case, we had to pay attention how the ideas in the passage are organized or how they relate to the main topic or each other. In this case, one strategy is to listen to the details and examples and think about why they are discussed. Also, look for organization of ideas such as comparison or contrast, cause and effect, etc. Okay? The examples of the questions: how is the information organized? Click or put a check mark in the correct option. Okay? This is the original listening from the Toefl Ibt test.
How does the professor organize the lecture?
In this case, we had to focus and pay attention to how the information is organized in the lecture. In this case, the lecture is the listening that we are going to listen in this part. Okay. Our next type of question is understand relationship, inferences, and drawing conclusions. In this case, it's necessary to recognize how different ideas or pieces of information in the passage are related. One strategy that can help us is to listen to how the different ideas are connected, or to listen to how a speaker reacts to each other's ideas. Draw a conclusion about the speaker's meaning. In this case, listen to how a speaker reacts to each other's ideas means that the reaction is not just with words, it's also with the tone of voice, with the intonation that the speaker is talking in that moment. Also, draw a conclusion about the speaker meaning means that the information is not explicit there, so we have to infer or we have to conclude based on the listening that we are paying attention at that moment. Examples of the questions. What does the professor imply about? There are more examples, but the most common is to imply about something that we can hear from the listening. So here you have the listening.
What does the professor imply about the teaching assistant from his introductory biology lab?
Okay, so we have the question and we have to choose the correct answer based on the listening. In this case, as in the other cases, we have to focus in the listening part because it will be just play it one time. So at the end, we have to look for the information from our notes that we can get from the listening. So all the strategies will need a good taking note strategy. After that information you will find here. So that's all for this tutorial of listening TOEFL IBT test. I hope that this tutorial will help you to get good grades in this international certification exam. So good luck and have a nice day.